Rachel Bloom, take us back to the beginning. How did this show and your collaboration with Aline Brosh McKenna come about?
Well, I've been doing music videos online, comedic music videos online for years. And I released this one. It was an animated video called If Disney Cartoons Were Historically Accurate. And the videos I did were very similar, I mean, identical to the type of videos we do on the show. Just kind of like of existing genres with like irreverent humor that deconstructs the genre. And so I did this animated music video, and Aline saw it featured in a Jezebel article, and then realized that the writer and the singer were the same person. And she looked up all of my other videos, and she had a friend who worked at CBS. And so the next thing I know, I get an email, Aline Brosh McKenna and CBS want to meet with you to discuss a musical television show. And I walk in and I dress like myself, which is like a writer girl, and I wore my glasses. And Aline was kind of expecting this, like, especially for my music videos, this kind of glamazon actress. And I walked in kind of looking like her and her people, and we instantly clicked.
Yeah, and speaking of, irreverent feminist deconstruction, that's really a great way to sum up what a lot of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is and has become. I spoke to Donna Lynn yesterday, and she quite rightly said that all of you on this show are equipped with a sledgehammer, and you're there just smashing stereotypes and cliches. So you're building them up purposely to smash them down. And I think the show does a remarkable job of that. Talk us through that aspect of this show.
Well, we want to look at like who people appear to be on the surface. I mean, the whole first season was about themselves, and in a way the story people tell themselves about who they are and what their lives are. And as we are having people wake up to like, well, what makes me happy versus like, what do I think? You deconstruct stereotypes. So like Daryl, for instance, is this kind of like us, but there's a deep sadness to him. And once Rebecca comes to town for numerous reasons, he wakes up to that sadness and realizes, oh, I'm not just like this. I'm someone who has not fully realized my sexuality. I'm a bisexual man. So just kind of like looking into nuances of people who could be cast in just this kind of sitcom-y light.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think it also does a really remarkable job of this whole concept of finding your happiness. And that's what I think, Rebecca is a catalyst for all of the people around her who are kind of drowning, so to speak, and who are eventually going on this journey with her. They're not fleeing the country to the other side of the country like Rebecca did, but they're all on this journey to find their happiness. And talk us through that angle as well, because that really only becomes apparent to the audience maybe halfway through the season when we start to realize it's not just about Josh and Rebecca. There's so much more to it than that.
Well, it's from the beginning. Rebecca sees that butter ad in the pilot, and it doesn't say, when was the last time you felt in love? It says, when was the last time you were truly happy? Is not happy. And the reason she sees Josh and falls in love with Josh and gives up everything for Josh is because Josh reminds her of a time that whole summer camp experience was the last time she was truly happy. It was Josh. She was at this summer camp being in a musical. Her mom wasn't there pressuring her. She got away from her parents. And so Josh is kind of conflated with happiness in general. So in her telling herself, also this guy Josh just happens to be here, that is a lie because she moves there pretty much just for Josh. But what she doesn't even realize is that Josh is a representation of the happiness that she doesn't have. And so from the very beginning, it's about what will make me happy.
Yeah. In the opening credits, Rebecca tries to stop the chorus from singing that she's a crazy ex-girlfriend and how broken she is inside. And then she's rebuffed because she's saying, or she rebuffs them because she's saying that's a sexist term. And it reminded me that I recalled some noise about that concept of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend being sexist, especially when it premiered. Did you really encounter that kind of feedback, and how did you deal with it?
We didn't encounter it until posters for the show came out. To us, the show, I mean, no one we ever developed the show with or pitched the show to, we pitched the show to 8, 9 cable networks. No one ever said to us, oh, that's a sexist for a show, because it's such a, in our point of view, it's such a feminist show. And the second you watch the show, you realize, oh, we're not doing the title. We're doing the title purely to deconstruct it. And so when the posters came out and people started to say the show looks sexist, it hadn't even occurred to us because we always knew what the show was from the very beginning. And so that was our kind of way of getting on it, where it's like, if you're going to watch the opening credits, you know what this show is. And that's why we did She's the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Like, that's such a kind of surfacey sitcom-y title that then the main character is like, fuck off. No, I'm not. And so it was that in a way was that theme song was heading people off at the pass of being like, you think you know what the show is? You don't.
Yeah, exactly. Can you please give me some insight on how you come up with the ideas for these musical numbers? I mean, Eileen took me through some of the process, but it just seems it would be such a challenge. There's so many songs have been written for this show so far, which is such a credit to you and your team. But how do the ideas pop up? Because they seem so random and yet they fit so beautifully within the episodes.
The songs come from plot. So for instance, right now we are outlining episode 4, and we just thought of a new song today that comes from, okay, well, moment, what's the character feeling in this moment? And so the song ideas come organically. We very rarely write an episode around just like, oh, this would be a cool song idea. It's, what are the emotionally heightened moments of the episode? And especially, what are Rebecca's emotionally high and low moments of the episode? And then, okay, let's hone in on what ideas could be in that moment. What do we need the song to serve? What purpose do we need the song to serve? So the songs always start with being organic to the plot and or the characters. And then we find, well, what's the comedic spin on that moment?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
And yet, and some of them, I think the funniest moments happen to be these songs. And for me, which I've explained to a lot of the team from this show so far, is when the Sexy Getting Ready song was playing on my television, it clicked for me for some reason. And I found it extremely funny. And it's been my favorite song throughout the whole season until the finale when Paula's big number just blew me. I just thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so funny. Blew my socks off.
Thank you.
So do you have a favorite, or is that just a silly question because they're all your babies?
It's hard. It's like choosing between my babies. I mean, like, I have such a specific, especially in the ones that, I mean, I have favorites in ones that I didn't have anything to do with. I mean, God, one of my favorite songs from the season is What'll It Be? And that is all Adam Schlesinger. I mean, that is Adam Schlesinger busting out that song. I think that song is beautiful and amazing and such a well-written song. But I have such, in the ones that I worked on, I have such specific memories. I'm really proud of all of our work. I think that, like, it's interesting to see what resonates with people. And it's really cool that Sexy Getting Ready song, like, continues to resonate with people. It's really great that Heavy Boobs resonates with people. It's really cool that Jap Battle resonates with people. I didn't know, like, and so they're all really special to me. And I like to think there isn't one that, like, all of them, because you're putting forth so much effort. Phone one in, it's just going to feel like, oh God, because I also end up taking a first pass at all of the scripts. And so at a certain point, if a song isn't funny or it's lazy, like, it comes apart in the scripting of it. And so we work really hard to make sure we're drafts of every single song. Yeah.
The other thing I really appreciate about the show is the relationship between Rebecca and Paula. So we start off thinking that it's about Josh and Rebecca, and it always will be to a certain extent. Josh is the leading man, played by Vincent Rodriguez, but Rebecca and Paula have this special relationship, which I think is really relatable. It's the idea of being loved, supported, and having someone's back no matter what. Talk us through that, because I mean that's become really central to the show, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you look at love, if you fall in love with someone because they give you what you need, they replace a part of you that's kind of missing, there's a balance, right? You can't love someone before you yourself, but at a certain point you are in relationships, there's a give and take. And what is unconditional love. Becca just needs positivity. She needs unconditional love. And Paula, for the most part, gives her that maternal energy. And Rebecca gives Paula motivation. I mean, she gives her, and the two of them good symbiotic relationship that does.
Yeah. Rebecca flees New York across the country to go to West Covina to be near Josh. Why West Covina? Or where did that come from?
Well, we knew we wanted to set it in Southern California town. I grew up here, and Aline grew up in New Jersey, and she's like, you've never seen anything really set in like the suburbia of Southern California, which is very, very like diverse. It's much not segregated at all, unlike like LA proper, like many of the cities are very segregated. Like it's just this beautiful like melting pot, and we hadn't seen that. And the idea of just like also there's something interesting about the LA suburbs of California suburbs or West Coast suburbs of just there's a newness. No building is 1970. There's this newness, there's this freshness, the idea of new beginnings, but the sun is also so just hot all the time. It kind of beats down on you, and it's just this positivity and newness that's there like all the time, and it's oppressive. And I definitely felt like that growing up in Southern California. And that was just really interesting to us, and we liked the name West Covina. There was a guy I had a crush on in high school who lived in a town near West Covina, and we were talking about how funny it was. I would always look for an excuse to go to that random unremarkable town, and when you're in love with someone, the unremarkable becomes remarkable.
Yeah, it sure does. And why was a decision made to make the leading man an Asian American? Was that something that you specifically wanted to do, or what did it come out of the casting of Vincent?
We knew we wanted to be a bro, and then we said to ourselves, well, so we wanted to be a bro. We wanted to be something kind of the opposite of Rebecca. We wanted him to be someone who's like happy, not like all the time, someone who's uncomplicated, someone who's very SoCal. And we were just thinking like, what hasn't been done? What haven't we seen? And we were like, oh, Asian bro. We just have not seen that. And it's so the opposite of what Rebecca is. Like the idea of an Asian bro is just the opposite of Rebecca. And that was an interesting character that a lot of people are like that, but we hadn't seen that on TV before. So we always knew Josh was Asian.
I'm going to take some Twitter questions because we got quite a few responses when we put that out there the other day. At Pavinian wants to know who your favorite guest star has been, and is there anybody you would like to see on the show?
God, all of our guest stars are wonderful. It's really hard to choose. Obviously, I mean, Gabrielle Ruiz, who plays Valencia, was technically a guest star last season. She is a season regular this season. Lea Salonga was amazing. Michael Hyatt was amazing. Tova Feldsha is very close to my heart because she really nails Where's the Bathroom, which is one of my favorite songs we've done this season. That especially was like a standout. And guest stars we want to see, God, there are so many people. We just had lunch with Carol Burnett, so
yeah.
Potentially, but there are so many. As we're writing the show, we really fit the guest star. So it only when we go episode by episode, it's different what we need for episodes versus like pie in the sky who we'd love to have on the show.
Yeah, that makes sense. At Letterbox Avatar asks, how fun was it to cast your child self?
So interesting. I mean, the child actors that our casting director, Felicia, finds are fantastic. And I mean, Ava Akers is one of the most talented people we have on this show who plays like 11-year-old me. She's amazing. And then the girl who plays 5-year-old me, whose name escapes me because I'm horrible, was just, that is how I looked as a 5-year-old. So that was quite uncanny. And every time you see those auditions, there's just always a like, your heart, there's, it's very, very primal. But it's really cool.
Yeah. At Mikey BFC1 asks, what were you most personally uncomfortable doing on the show, or what was most outside your comfort zone?
That's a great question.
Because you've done a lot. You've been there. You've gone there.
I think what's actually been uncomfortable. The biggest stretch for me is honestly anything about Rebecca's like father leaving her, divorce, and I think anything, the character is so emotionally autobiographical, but anything where it comes to like the father leaving and getting remarried, it's so not an experience I've had that whenever that happens, it's much more of like an imaginary scenario, which is what actors do on what most actors do on a lot of shows, I think. And so that's been interesting. And then I think I think Uh, Anything with music, it doesn't make me uncomfortable. I mean, just I mean, when I was filming myself, when we were in the shower for "Oh My God, I Think I Like You," I was like my idea to have me in the shower. I was in essence, like taking a shower in like a barely there bra and panties in front of like 30 people. So that was like a little bit like, oh wow, I just feel like I'm at home taking a shower. Um, but music, it makes it okay.
I think you can say that about a lot of things. If you set it to music, it's okay.
It just makes it okay. Yeah.
It just makes it okay. I
Yeah.
have a final question. This is one thing that I love asking people, especially in your position, because when you won the Golden Globe earlier this year, your energy was so palpable. It was such an amazing moment. And because we're Gold Derby, we talk about it. What's what we do. We'll never forget it. And then you won. Then you came back and you won the Critics' Choice as well. But I want to talk more about the Golden Globe because that was the first one, and you could obviously see that you were clearly so excited. I want you to talk us through that night and also just generally what it means for you in your career and for your show.
I mean, that got us a second season. Like, I think I was almost about to go up there and be like, I want to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press for giving my show a second season, and then I just forgot to say that. It was huge. I mean, you know, you think about these things, and the thing is, you're on set all day for 16 hours, and you're filming this show, and it starts to feel like you're in a little family, and then you go home and you watch it on your TV, which is surreal in its own way. But there's something about like being in that ballroom and being at the Golden Globes. It suddenly makes it really real. Like, oh my God, I've been filming a TV show this whole time that everyone has seen. It's not like that feeling of like when you're on Broadway, I assume, and you get out in front of thousands of people every night. The Golden Globes made it really, really, really like just tangible. And so when I won, I think if you notice, like when they call my name, my head's almost down because I can't even believe it. It's just so insane. And even now I saw that someone posted like a video of Andy Samberg saying my name the other night, and like even it gets my heart beating even now. I mean, there's a video of my friends watching the telecast that I love watching because they're so supportive and they're just like waiting and they're like, say her name. Like that's the most watching it on television and seeing myself step up to an award podium and give an award speech. I mean, it was so overwhelming and wonderful. And it was a hell of a year. I mean, we just passed the year mark, got ordered to series, and my life has done a 180. I mean, my life is completely different.
Yeah, like that's an understatement. But look,
Yeah.
hopefully Emmy voters are taking notice, and hopefully you guys can come back and maybe get some nominations from them. You're a multi-hyphenate. You could be all over the ballot. We can only hope, and if not, whatever, you guys are doing a great job, and we wish you all the best. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.